So we are joined here today by Scott Levin, who is the Regional Director of the Anti-Defamation League. Thank you so much for your time.
Glad to be here.
So today your organization released its audit of anti-Semitic incidents, tracking them year over year in our community, found 45 verified anti-Semitic incidents in Colorado in 2016. That's up sharply from 18 the year before, which was up from 10 the year before that. How do we know that it's not just increased awareness and reporting, that it actually is an increase in incidents?
Well, we don't know for sure anything. What we know is we're able to track those incidents that people bring to us, either because they've happened to them or they've happened to other people they know, or they're because of reports that might be in the media or in other places that we find them. In most of these instances, we're able to reach out and to actually talk to the people who've been the targets of these anti-Semitic acts. And so from our perspective, we feel that they are verified.
I know that last year, when we saw the sharp uptick, your organization pointed to heated political rhetoric. And again this year, you're pointing to the heightened political atmosphere. How is it possible to extrapolate that motivation or that causal factor with such a relatively small number of incidents, 45 total in Colorado?
That's right. Well, 45 in Colorado, but you have to remember we have close to 1,300 that have occurred across the United States. The ADL has 27 offices, all of whom are measuring these types of incidents in their particular regions that are going on. Now, part of it has to do with the type of rhetoric that's used, especially in these harassment and vandalism type of anti-Semitic activities that have occurred. Sometimes they are coupled together with very political comments as well. For instance, here in Colorado last summer, there was a graffiti that was posted that said, "Kill the Jews, vote Trump." Now, I don't think that that's Donald Trump's fault. He's not the one that's out there calling for that happening. But there are people who are feeling very emboldened. In addition, we saw a very large increase in these incidents occur come November and December of last year, and that's continued on into the beginning of 2017.
As for the president, there have been critics who have said that he has tacitly encouraged or at least allowed anti-Semitic behavior and rhetoric from his followers. Can you draw that straight line between something that the president or when he was a candidate said or did and then what we see showing up here in Colorado?
Yeah, absolutely not. I cannot draw that direct line. Certainly there are people out there that have anti-Semitic attitudes. I think they've been encouraged by some of the nativist, some of the nation first kinds of discussions that have gone on, and typically Jews, because they're viewed as the other or the stranger, often fall victim in those periods of time that are going on. But no, I don't think that there's a direct line that Donald Trump is anti-Semitic and calling out for people to act on their anti-Semitism.
And your organization's research shows that the percentage of the population that holds anti-Semitic views isn't greatly on increased 13–14%. So there's not more bigots, they're just busier.
That's true. We've been measuring anti-Semitic attitudes since the mid-1960s, when there was close to 35% of the country that was infected with very virulent anti-Semitic attitudes. Today it's around 13–14%. That's still a lot of people in a country of our size. But the reality is, while that is maintained within a percentage or two, it's the people feeling emboldened to act on their anti-Semitism that seems to have changed over the past couple of years.
I certainly, personally, see a lot more anecdotes of hate, but that's because I'm on social media, Twitter and Facebook. Any idea whether we are seeing a spillover from digital life into real life?
Well, first of all, you're absolutely right. It's a recognition of the fact that people in their social media networks are obviously able to express a lot more than they might be able to do when people get together person to person and can look each other in the eyes. And especially because there's some level of anonymity that's allowed in social media and on the internet. So what's happening is again, in this time when people are feeling like they can act out on some of their biases and prejudices, not just anti-Semitism, but we see it in other areas against people of color, against immigrants, against refugees, the LGBTQ community, all of that. If you can anonymously put that forth on your social media, they're doing it today.
So I know that your audit also took a look at the first quarter of 2017 and mentioned 15 incidents in Colorado, including the 2 bomb threats at the Jewish Community Center in Boulder.
Correct.
There was a whole wave of those bomb threats nationwide, and a ton of them were traced back to an Israeli teenager who might have mental health problems. If they're hoaxes, are they still acts of anti-Semitism?
Yeah, I think what you have to look at is what the effect of those threats were. It put an entire community on edge and in fear. You know, when you look at what goes on in a Jewish community center, much the same as many other community centers and churches and synagogues, they have early childhood education centers, preschools that are up there. Those kids have to be evacuated every time something goes on. People that use it for their athletic endeavors, for meetings, for other type of opportunities that presented by those centers, all of them were put in fear. And they were put in fear when it's directed to a Jewish community center because of the fact that they are Jewish or that they're in a building that Jews frequent. So the fact that it was a Jew that may have perpetrated quite a few of these instances really didn't matter on the effect. And the other thing I'd point out is in addition to all of those Jewish community centers, there were actually also 5 Anti-Defamation League or ADL offices. Thankfully, it wasn't ours that also received bomb threats.
Last question for you. You're calling for increased awareness and vigilance. What does that practically mean?
Well, look, hate crimes or bias-motivated instances are message crimes. They're really not directed against Kyle Clark because I don't like Kyle Clark. I just don't happen to like a guy who's a news reporter, any news reporter that's out there. In that same way, when those take place against Jewish people, messages are being sent that you're not welcome in this community. So it's really important that we report these, point them out, so that the community can come together and say, no, that's not true. You are welcome. And here in Colorado, we're an open state that values everybody, no matter what it is that they believe or how they look. So by having increased vigilance, by having increased awareness, we can send that counter message that, again, not just in anti-Semitism, but when these are perpetrated against anyone, for whatever might be their identity, that we can say in Colorado, that's not acceptable.
Scott Levin, Regional Director of the ADL, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you.